Welcome back to Celtic State of Mind. I wish it was under different circumstances, but I am pleased to be joined by Kevin McCluskey, who's braved the full-time show to give me some support today. Look, the two things I want to start with, and then I'll bring you in, Kev. But the first one is, look, it's been a privilege to be a part of this show, even hosting it or as part of it, for some great results. And it's important to remember that you've got to take the rough with the smooth. We've never viewed ourselves as being entitled. I don't think we'll ever act as entitled as certain other supporters, but this is a blip. This is a blip, right? Let's call it what it is. It's a blip. We'll talk about the performance. I think that deserves some time to talk about how poor the performance is. We'll give credit where it's due, and based on what I'm going to say next, this is a tough one to say, but I'll give credit to the team on the park for Rangers today. They played well. I think it's fair to say we were outplayed, and we have to acknowledge that. I think be the bigger set of supporters as we like to be. So we'll stick with that. Now, the second thing I want to say, and this is before we get into the performance, and we're not going to deflect away from our performance today, but I'll say this, and we generally get a few infiltrators in here, so I'll say it directly to them, but I'll say it also to the supporter or supporters, because there was more than one object thrown, that hit one of our players with a coin during that match. I hope you're feeling good about yourself as you're slabbering into your Union Jack tonight, because let me just say right up front, you're a disgrace to your team, you're a disgrace to your fellow supporters, albeit I'm sure you had a few pats on the back. You're a disgrace to Scottish football, and you've got no place in this game. I know my words will mean absolutely nothing, but ultimately that's the fact. Ridiculous in this day and age, particularly when your team has got a result like that, and your only objective is to hit one of your players with an object. So that is the last thing I'm going to say about it tonight, but there were plenty of fears put out before the match about the safety of players, the safety of personnel, the safety of our own fans at that venue. Not good enough, and action should be taken. And I hope that gets the kind of media coverage, Kev, that one refereeing decision got over the past few weeks, because that was absolutely inexcusable. So, as I said, not using that to deflect away from our performance, but I think that needed to be said. Kev, I'll get your impressions, mate. I mean, it wasn't good. It wasn't good at half time. It's probably, if anything, even worse. We didn't think it could get worse, but I think it's fair to say it did get worse in that second half. I think it was a timely reminder that there's no room for complacency when you wear this shirt, and I think that's a reminder to the players that were out there. But look, the one thing I want to reference, and it was referenced by one of our fellow contributors on our group chat, is back in one of our best seasons in recent memory, under Martin O'Neill in the first season. Despite all the great things that happened that season and all the landmarks and the milestones and winning the treble, we still lost at Ibrox 5-1 to Rangers. So look, these things happen. No matter how good your team is, no matter how you've performed up to that point, no matter how many great results, these things do happen. It was horrible to watch. Hopefully it means very little in the grand scheme of things, but from a fan's perspective and watching that in isolation, it wasn't good enough, was it?
Not by a long shot, Chris. Like we were saying at half time, you can lose games of football and you can come away from it kind of feeling okay about it in one sense, if you've had a go and if you've made a proper game of it, and you've given a good account of yourselves and shown up. But we didn't do any of those things today, so we've got exactly what we deserved out of the game, and we've got exactly what we put into the game, which was nothing. It was a really poor performance. Yeah. Like I say, at half time we did sit here thinking, the second half we can't play any worse than we did in that first half. There must be some improvement. And to be fair, I thought maybe for the first 5 minutes of the second half we did look a little bit better. The boys looked a wee bit more composed on the ball. But that was it. It was 5 minutes, and I've a note written down here at a point where, at no point in the game were we ever on top. So even in that 5 minutes at the start of the half, I still felt Rangers were more on top than us. We just didn't look as bad as we did in the first half. it's a completely different game if Kyogo times his run just that little bit better and he gets the goal and it's onside. But the fact is he didn't. So it was offside. It was the correct call to rule it out. Actually, just before I go on that one, I think on the whole, I thought the referees and the officials were pretty decent today. I
Yeah.
think they got most of the bigger decisions right, and that was one of them. We didn't, it was an offside goal, and other than that, we didn't deserve a goal. I don't think we had a shot on target in the second half, which it's there's going to be a lot of these stats that's going to come out from this game that I just think are pretty unacceptable for a club like Celtic with the standards that we set.
Yeah.
So it is a blow. It's a blow, but like you say, I think it's a blip, and we've got St Mirren at home at the weekend. We've got to win that game. If we do, today does not get forgotten about. But excuse me, it shows that today is a blip. We need to make it just a one-off, really poor performance. You don't get these very often at Celtic, where pretty much the entire outfield selection of players doesn't show up. Today was just one of those days, a really bad day at the office all round. And like I say, I think we got from it what we deserved, which was nothing. Excuse me. And yeah, not something I really enjoy doing, but give Rangers credit for that because they were better than us all over the park. Unfortunately, I don't think there
Yeah.
was a Celtic player who won his individual duel,
No.
be it once in the game or over the course of the game. They were just better. They were just better than us. They wanted to win more. They won the second ball a hell of a lot more than we did. Um, and to be quite honest with you, it hurts to say it, but this was probably the correct scoreline. We got what we deserved out of this. So, so it is a tough one.
I can tell it's sticking in your
The
throat.
liquor wound, it's sticking in my throat. Yes, I'm going to have a wee drink of water in a second there. But it's a tough one to take. But we've just got to lick our wounds and get on with it. At the end of the day, we're still 11 points clear.
Absolutely.
We've got
And
January to look forward to. You'd like to think we'll bring in 2 or 3 players that might refresh the squad. We need to just go again at the weekend. It's as simple as that. And get tonight out the system with a good performance against St Mirren, which hopefully we'll get because we need to have some sort of a reaction from this.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think look, we're hurting as supporters. And it was one of those full-time bulletins where you're thinking, oh, come on, please, no more goals because this is going to be tough as it is. But what you're hoping is that the heart we're feeling as supporters translates onto the players as well. It transfers onto the players, and the players actually recognise, that wasn't good enough collectively. I mean, I think we've spoken about individuals at half time. I don't think either of us really like pulling up individuals because this is a team that collectively has done brilliant this season so far. Albeit some of the performances have been a little bit up and down. Our early momentum seems to have dropped a bit in recent weeks. But ultimately, you're right. I mean, we were 14 points clear going into this game. We're still 11 points clear. We built that lead up by virtue of being the absolute best team in the league and doing that alongside some great performances in Europe as well. This, as I said, I think it's a wake-up call. It's a reminder that there are no easy games, even domestically. That they're not. We should never show disrespect to any other team, including our old rivals. That we are. That we're just going to turn up and win. The point is that there's an effort level, there's a standard that needs to be met when you pull on the hoops, and I think these players probably realised that they did not meet that standard. They should be realising they didn't meet that standard today. If we can try and break down the performance a bit, Kev, where did we lose that game today? Was there any particular area of the park that we lost it? I mean, some people were talking about the midfield. We know that certain areas of defence did not play well. Without mentioning any names, we were toothless up front. I mean, was it just every area of the park, or was there one area where we lost that game today?
So the simple answer to that one is that probably we lost it in every area of the park. Because as I said before, I think we lost every single duel, player against player.
Yep.
So collectively, we were just really, really poor. But we lose the game because our passing was off. There was so many misplaced passes, especially in the first half. by virtue of doing that, we handed the impetus to Rangers. They didn't have to work to create chances against us in the early stages. In fact, for most of the game, or certainly the whole of the first half, I don't think they really created chances. We gifted them chances, and you can't do that in this kind of game. When they go 1-0 up, you're in that cauldron atmosphere. It's 50,000 Rangers fans. They're all at that point, they're behind the team. So what we needed was a good solid 15, 20 minutes at the start of the game to turn the crowd against them. And we didn't do it. So we lost it in the early stages because we were really slack in our play. We lost it because the midfield just did not get a grip in the game at all. We spoke about McGregor at half time. He had a poor game, but I think as well, as I said, that's down to the collective around him because he wasn't receiving good passes. He wasn't getting the option of anyone to lay it off to. It was just poor. Hatate was giving it away far too often, and Bernardo was largely non-existent for most of the time he was on the park. So we lost it there. Again, I'll give Rangers credit for it because as much as we lost it there, that's where they won the game because Raskan won every loose ball. He was on top of things. Bayrami was stopping McGregor from getting any breathing space, and Hadji had a good game. And every time he got the ball, he was in acres of space. We weren't picking players up. We weren't matching the runners. So I think that's where we lost it as well. And then, going forward, we offered nothing. So this has happened a few times in recent games where either one or both of Kuhn and Maida have had off days, and when they do, we're quite stifled. So Rangers didn't allow us to play through the middle, and then our two wide players weren't getting the ball, and they were ineffective when they had it. I don't think Maida hit the byline once, and he's up against Yilmaz. Yilmaz is a left back; he's left-footed, playing on the right. So you want to be taking him to the byline and keeping him on his weaker foot. And Maida's got the pace to get in behind and then cut in, rather than trying to cut in front of Yilmaz. So I think that was a mistake on his behalf, or a tactic that we set up that was wrong. And Nicholas Kuhn, I felt, was just. I'd say he was poor, but I don't think he really got the service to be poor. He had one run, I think, in the first half, and then in the second, he was starved of service. Which again comes from losing the midfield. So it's a collective failing. I think you win and lose these games as a team, and none truer than today. Collectively, we were really, really poor. Now, as well, maybe do you look at the manager to that one, as in what could he have done to change things around? Because I think it's a bad day at the office for everyone. So maybe you look at that and go, if things aren't working, could we have made changes earlier on in the game to try and influence it? Could we have gone with two up top to mix things up for a change? Could we have been telling the wide players on the rare occasions that you get the ball, hit the line rather than cutting in field? It's too obvious what you're doing. Should we have been going more direct and missing the midfield out altogether because we weren't winning anything in there?
That's the point, yeah.
So there's a lot of questions that will come up from this game. In the end, I think we just lost it because we weren't good enough.
I think that's maybe the simplest and probably most accurate analysis we can offer. I mean, look,
you could have saved us all 5 minutes of your life there by just coming up.
I was going to say, but no. Look, I do appreciate it's very easy for us to sit here and do the armchair manager thing and talk about the performances of the players when we're nowhere near capable of going out there and performing at the levels they do each and every game. So this is not an assassination job tonight. I don't want to be. I've been working out, I'll have you know. No, not at all. But the point is that we recognise this is if it was easy, then everybody'd be jumping into that team. It's not. It's a tough job that these players have, and meeting the expectations of our support in particular, including us, is really it's not easy. So we do absolutely 100% recognise the challenges that both manager and players have, but at the same time, the purview of the supporter is to try and use the eye test to break down what we see and articulate why we think it went well or didn't go well. So I want to bring in some of the comments just so that we're representing as much of the fan base as possible. I do want to bring in old hand here, and Ewan Boy Martin. I actually have a funny story about Ewan Boy Martin, but I don't think today is the day to bring it up. So I'll wait for one of the other pods we do. But it is a good one. It's something that was told to me at one of the recent live events. But Ewan Boy makes the point, and thank you very much again for your support, Ewan Boy. Always in there and always supporting the channel. But simply, they out-muscled and out-fought us all over the pitch. They gave us a bloody nose today, nothing more. That was actually literal in Kuhn's case. But the treble is still ours. And I think that's important that we remember that. Look, we were 11 points ahead in the title race. And at the start of the season, if you'd said, this is where we're going to be at this point, I think we'd have all bitten your hand off for it. So let's keep things in context. Ange, our management, green and white, I like that username. It was as if they thought it would just happen without the effort. Maybe too simplistic, Kev, but I think, when you're watching it, that thought does creep into your head. Did we think we could just turn up against what was perceived to be a depleted Rangers team, do what we do every match, and we'd win it? I think you'd like to think that we wouldn't approach the game that way, and I think we have to give the manager credit in that regard. I don't think he sets the team up for that. The only counterpoint to that would be when the manager makes changes, is there a tendency to make too many like-for-like changes? We take Kyogo off, we bring Ida on. We take one of the wingers off, we bring Forrest on. I know that wasn't today, but typically that happens. We take, two of the midfielders off, we bring two central midfielders on. Do we need to look at actually how do we change our shape and our structure when games aren't going well? Because surely if our opposition team are playing a certain tactic and it's stifling our system, surely changing the personnel is not going to have the same effect as actually changing the system. And again, I'm saying that purely as the armchair manager. I appreciate that. I'm not going to tell Brendan Rodgers how to do his job. But what's your thoughts on that, Kev? Would you have liked to see us maybe go two up front today, or just change it a little bit? Give Rangers food for thought tonight, because we didn't seem to answer any of the questions put to us.
Yeah, can you call up the last comment again? Sorry, first before I answer your question.
If I can find it. There we go.
That was it. It was just so I could get the wording of that one right. So it was as if they thought it would just happen without the effort. I don't believe that's the case. Can see where the commenter comes at us with that one, because the performance was abject. It was really, really poor. But no, I can't see Brendan allowing the team to go out with the mindset of the game's already won, or we don't have to do very much to do it. It's not going to be like Sir Alex at Tottenham, where that's what he said to the players before they went out. Lads, it's Tottenham. You've got this game won. I don't think Brendan would do that for this kind of game.
No,
I just think we were miles off it, which is worrying because it was a collectively miles off it, not just one or two players. But no, I don't think that was the case. As for the question that you raised yourself, Chris, about changing the system rather than just the players, I would like to see us do that a lot more often than we do. Sometimes I think when I'm watching the games, we can become quite a predictable team after a certain point in the game. And the reason we end up winning a lot of the games can be that we are simply a better team than the opposition. We've got better players and we'll wear them down. Our players are fitter, they're stronger, they've got better technical skills, and we'll get there. So a lot of the time we can kind of get away with it, especially at home. Like, we'll just wear teams down. When it's not going right and it's going so wrong as it was today, there is no point in just making like for like changes. Like you say, you've basically, you're just throwing somebody in as a lamb to the slaughter almost. Baye coming in as a direct replacement for Taylor, or maybe that's one you can get away with because we want to keep four at the back, maybe. But then in the midfield, we didn't change things. We could have taken off a midfielder and gone a 4-4-2, a very basic system, but we could have had Ida and Kyogo up front with the wide players. We could have gone 3-5-2, which I think a lot of people want to see us do at times, get three at the back and get wing backs on there. We've got the personnel, I think, that we can do it, but Brendan is very much kind of aligned and married to this 4-3-3, which, like I say, I think at times it can be a little bit predictable. And as much as I think we have the strength and depth, and we've got players on the bench that can come on with slightly different attributes, there is a lot of similarity in the players that are coming on as well. So they're coming into the same role, being asked to do the same things. And if it wasn't working before, why do you think it's going to change and start working all of a sudden against an opposition who were kind of on fire in a sense? They were at the top of the game today. They were up for it. They were winning everything. So really, it wasn't going to have the impact that we wanted it to do. So yeah, I think at times I would like to see us maybe just change the system up, give the opposition something different to think about. 2 centre forwards, 3 at the back, wing backs, whatever it needs to be, or even just go a bit more direct rather than always try to pass everything out and through. When that's not working, we need to have a plan B, which can be let's go a bit more direct. Let's put the ball into the corners and let the wide players get a chance to try and get in behind.
Yeah, and we saw an element of that
with the armchair coaches.
I know.
Brendan's got his 11 points clear at the top, so he's doing something right. It's working. We're all just disappointed that today it didn't work. But I do think that we should have solutions for these kind of days.
Yeah, and just to your point there about being more direct, we actually saw, the goal was ruled out, but we saw a great, it was an offside goal, but it was a great goal by Kyogo, and it was marginal. But that was one of the first moves.
He's offside by a yard or two. He's not. Mayang's offside. It's very tight. So if you can do that a bit more and just get it right.
Well, that was my thing. If you get an opening, granted that one was ruled out, but you saw some success. Unfortunately, Kyogo was taken off shortly after that, and I thought, well, that was the first time we'd really managed to find him in the game. So, yeah, a little bit frustrating that we don't sort of, change our tactics as we go. I'm keen to bring in some more of the comments because we didn't get a chance to bring up too many at half-time. So we'll start with, let's say, David E. Reality check, most welcome. We need more recruits. Well, maybe it is timely as we head into January. I'm keen to bring in kind of contrasting views as much as possible. So we've got Dan McGrain 04 coming in saying consistently found out against basically well-organised teams. Bruges and Zagreb, the reality, Leipzig was the ideal team to play given the systems. The team are nowhere near as good as people think. But I want to contrast that with David Lockhart coming in saying, disappointing, but it's one game. Days gone by, we'd have been grateful just to get away from Ibrox with a point. Whatever the opposite of a meltdown is, we'll now need to endure it. Absolutely. I mean, goodness, if they react that way to not getting a penalty, they'll probably be, I don't know, they'll be proposing to their, sisters or whatever tonight. Goodness, no, that's terrible. I shouldn't say that, but, things will be happening. Craig Monroe comes in, says changes should have been made much earlier. It was very clear at half-time that changes were required. Essex Boy comes in and says, agree, no one really gets past marks. I get we had a bad game coming, but why could we not at least go down fighting? Kind of agree with that to an extent. Surely the least you expect is effort. That's not being entitled. Completely agree with that statement. As I say, I think you pull on this shirt, you have to recognise that there isn't any room for complacency. There's not a natural born entitlement to go and win every game. So I do get that. John McDowell comes in, kind of reinforces our point there, Kev, saying should have put 2 up front, no get out against this high press. Yep, I agree with that. Craig McMeekin, is that, or Meekin, is that? I'm not sure. Apologies, Craig, for butchered your surname there, but I think it's a good point. Statement from Rogers to the board, we still need so much more. I agree. I mean, I think we had a decent recruitment window in the summer, but I don't think anyone's under the illusion that this is the final best, absolutely, fully equipped squad that we could have. So hopefully we'll do some business this month. Sugarman comes in. We've been far too slow of mind and have played for weeks now. Everything's played to a hook shot with a back to goal. It was too predictable and they stuck to their game plan. Well, yeah, I would agree with that. I do have to do a wee check just to make sure there's no naughty words in the comments because I know there's quite a few in there. I feel like saying a few myself tonight. But John Yolans comes in and says when they got the ball, their midfield can't defend. Every time our defence knocked it out, it came straight back and had space and pace. When we had it, we were slow and crowded. Yeah, I think that was fair. We did seem to not have a lot of time on the ball, even though at times we seemed to want to take our time. And Murchie Boy comes back in. Didn't learn the lessons from Hampden, failed to cope with the Rangers press. Yeah, I think that was there. But Raymond Ogg's got a different view. Lovely picture there. That's you and your partner, Raymond. It keeps Clement in place. Well, yeah, absolutely. Was that deliberate? Was that strategic? Who knows? Who knows? Jim Riley comes in with a wee point, trying to keep things in perspective. Celtic at 1 today, who's going to bother with the rest of the season? It's about cash. Maybe even more cynical for me, that one, but yeah, fair enough. keep the comments coming. We've got a few minutes yet. Let us know your thoughts. I'm going to bring in one last one here from quarterback Punk before we go into what we need to do now in January, Kev. But quarterback comes in and says, we can only lose one more game in 2025 to beat last year. Oh, well, 11 points clear. I'll take it. Yeah, good attitude, I think. Good attitude from one of our regulars there. Kev, a few people talking about, is this a statement to the board? Is this maybe timed, partly to our benefit? Sorry, let me just ban someone that's clearly not of our persuasion. Bye-bye. We'll just wave bye-bye to them. Bye-bye. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Away you go. As we go into the January transfer window, now we've spoke about some of the obvious recruits on the wings. The left-back debate will not go away. But looking at the performance today, and I appreciate this is one game, it's one performance in isolation, right? So let's not take a knee-jerk reaction. But thinking longer term, any positions you would look at today and think, there is possibilities that we should strengthen, or maybe is there a different type of player we should look to bring in, something that we don't currently have in the squad?
Yeah. I'm always of the opinion that we should be looking to upgrade in every area of the park, because that's how you move forward. And no one should then be kind of resting on their laurels that they're guaranteed a place in the team. And to an extent, that even goes as far as the captain. And if you're looking for that kind of position that's not the winger or the left back to reinforce, we might have a ton of midfielders, but I still think we lack something in the midfield from time to time. And in games like this, especially when we go into Europe, we lack, for want of a better example, though, Victor Wanyama type, someone who is really physically imposing and commanding figure in the midfield. Someone that can play a bit as well, because Victor could. But I think we lack that, because at times we can be bullied in the midfield in games, and we saw it today. So when McCallum's not a 6 as well, I'll say that as far as I'm concerned, he's an 8.
I agree.
So when that ball comes into him today and he's under so much pressure straight away, I mean, he's got no support from anyone. So even if he is in there, but he's got 8 other next to him, he gets a bit of support. He gets the physical presence in there that makes the opposition think as well, actually, which player am I going on here? So I think we need that. Someone with a bit more physicality, a bit more presence and athleticism in there. Throughout the midfield, we've got players that have got individually got some of those attributes in their skill set, but we don't have one player that molds into that. And I think that's something that we miss, and we notice it sometimes in these bigger games, especially when we lose them, because that's when your flaws are highlighted. So I'd go for that, someone else in the midfield. Yep. In fact, I'm tempted to suggest a second midfield player, because I still don't think we've properly replaced Matt O'Reilly and the creativity he brought for us. But that's a huge ask to replace him. That said, we got O'Reilly from League One in England for $1.5 million. If we're smart enough, those players are out there. We just need to have a good scouting system and recruitment team that can pick these guys up like we've done in the past. And then the other one for me is I still think we could be doing with a third centre forward. Again, someone that gives us something different. Kyogo, I love, and I think he's normally brilliant in these games. And his goal today, albeit he was offside, his goal was fantastic. The touch on the chest, and then the wee lob over the keeper. If we just timed the run better, who knows? He's a great player, but then when he doesn't get the service, he's not involved in the game. Ida, I like him, and he scored us a lot of big goals, but I still have some doubts about him. I think he can be very quiet in games as well. He's not somebody that gets himself involved if it's not going right. I think we kind of need somebody else up there. Now, that might also be that we just need to change our style of play at times. And instead of trying to use a centre forward in the way that we are, we need to hit the wings and hit the byline, kind of like how we did under Ange. So I know I'm that guy that will harp on about Ange and his style because I loved it. But when we had him and the wingers were hitting the byline and cutting it back, we would have Kyogo and Jota or Kyogo and Abada hitting the near post to get his goals. We could mix the play up. So it might not be necessarily then that we need another centre forward. We just need to change the style of play to suit, again, personnel that we've got. But I'm sorry, I forget who it was that brought the comment up about the defeat maybe coming at the right time. There's never a good time to lose a game. There's definitely not a good time to lose a Glasgow derby. But if ever there was one, the start of a transfer window might be that time, because we've had some flaws highlighted today. There's definitely some areas of the squad that we all know going into the game needed improving. There's some that have been kind of reinforced today. So we wanted a statement win, whereby that put us 17 points clear. Maybe we've had a statement defeat that encourages folks to open a checkbook up and bring us in the players that we need to not just see us through to the end of what should be a successful season this year, but prepare us for a European campaign next season as well.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. I think that's absolutely spot on. I think hopefully it'll be interesting to see what we do, and hopefully get some positive, positive recruits in January. Something that gives us just that little bit more assurance that we are enhancing the squad rather than just going like for like. Just want to.
And sorry, the thing is, and that's where we don't need to do major heart surgery in this team or in the squad.
No,
as well.
exactly.
That's the thing. We can take today as in isolation and be gutted, and we can rip the team to bits as much as we want for it because it was a dreadful performance. But in the grand scheme of things, as I think it was Punch Drunk Love came in and said, we are still 11 points clear. We are still on for a treble. We're the only team that can do that. We are doing very well in the Champions League. I personally think we could have been doing a little bit better, but we're in a position where, again, at the beginning of that campaign, you would bite your hand off to be in. There's a lot of positives from the season to take. There's a lot of negatives to take away from today, but we can turn them into positives and building it for the rest of the campaign. And somehow I have turned a 3-0 defeat around into having a positive comment at the end of it.
I remember I did that on this podcast once, so good luck. No, look, two things just as we finish there. So one, we're close to 3,000 strong on the streams at the peak today. So really, really appreciate people sticking with us, particularly after that performance. I know how I'm feeling after that, so I can imagine how everyone else is feeling. And I appreciate everyone that brought up comments and understand the strength of feeling as well. But look, let's keep things in context if we can, and people can shout at me for this, but we're 11 points clear because we are having a good season. We're still in Europe because we're having a good season. And the bulk of the players that underperformed today badly have got us into this position. We've got the opportunity now to go and strengthen. So let's get behind the team and move on, as we always do as supporters. And nothing illustrates to me more how great our fan base is today, that we are still backing our team even after that. I would have to say I'm not sure there'd be statements galore coming out from the other mob had they seen that sort of performance today. So we don't do that. Just want to say thank you, Kevin McCluskey, for coming in, braving the pods with me today. We've been lucky enough to do this for wins, but you're an old hand. I know you've been on the end of a few heavy defeats. I've not had quite as many, so still this one stinks. But we'll always be here, whether we win, lose or draw. We will always be here and try and give you some content. Commiserations to Paul John and all the guys at Barra's Art and Design who were there for the watch along. I'm sure the atmosphere was, a little bit tough there, but everyone that comes to our events are top quality people. So please, hope everybody gets home safe. Hope everybody gets home from the ground safe as well tonight. Hope we no longer have to encounter supporters with heads as empty as their trophy cabinet. But this, I think, will still be a very successful season. So let's move on to the next game. Hail, hail, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and really appreciate your support for A Celtic State of Mind. Take care, everyone. Hail, hail.
Cheers, Chris.